In this video, I'm going to teach you how to structure courageous conversations with you and your partner in order to harness the transformative power of vulnerability. Hi, my name is John Hawkins Jr. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, certified trauma specialist, and co-founder of Hawkins Counseling Center. So the word vulnerability itself has gotten a lot of attention. In the last decade, I would say someone like Brene Brown has made it almost an entire career off shame and vulnerability, the topic itself. So it shows you how important and pervasive it is for us. The word itself scares the crap out of most people because most of us, if you've gotten into early, mid, late adulthood, have gotten stung before. You've gotten relationally dinged at times, whether it was in your childhood or previous relationships, infidelities, abandonment, rejection, shame, all these wounds that we all are carrying around. So vulnerability can be really scary. I would say take even a moment right now and just bring your attention to your body, to just any inner experience, imagery, just in any internal sense of that, of your somatic reaction. Just as I say the word vulnerability, just track what happens in your body. For some of you, it might be a warm feeling in your chest. Others, your heart might start racing 1,000,000 miles a minute. Your stomach goes into knots. You have past memories of vulnerability incidents that didn't go so well. And so it's a topic that brings up strong reactions for people. Unfortunately, it is the only path any of us has in a relationship to build a secure relationship and the bond that we want to have ultimately with our partner. So the one thing I want to do first in this video is really to scale it down and break vulnerability into really tiny steps where you're not jumping off a cliff, but that you're just putting your toe in the water. Something that's very doable. I'm a big believer in therapy that there is never a stuck place. You just need a thinner slice. So if I have a client that says, I just can't talk about this, it's just too scary, it brings up too much fear and shame for me, then I point out to them that they just did in a relationship session. If I say, I just can't receive that from my partner, I can't trust it yet, there's still a level of vulnerability in that they shared that. They could have just shut down and said nothing. And so also everything we do here in these videos and at the center is focusing on science-based solutions. So then we want to create ultimately neuroplasticity for each one of our clients so that then they're leaving our services with a different biology, that they're actually rewiring their brain, their nervous system. So one of the things that vulnerability has the potential to do is heal our past, transform the level of our connections, build more of a secure bond with each other where we feel safe, witnessed, empathized with, more trusting, all these kind of things. And so again, our old stuff will come up. And so you get a huge, there's neurochemical, neurological power in vulnerability that I'm going to walk you through and then teach you how to structure these conversations in a way that's not quite so scary that my aspiration is at the end of the video you could say, I could do that. That's a thin enough slice for me. So when we are, in a vulnerable relationship where we're feeling witnessed, heard, and seen, we get our old friend, the amygdala, which I talk about in almost every video, holds our emotional memories, both pleasurable and painful. It's also constantly assessing friend or foe, safety or threat. And so one of the challenges is just to be safe, it'll jump to false positives. It'll see something that's not quite there. An example I've been using recently was with my wife, Bissan, where I came in one night from work, and she was sitting in her bed watching a movie, and I walked in, said something, she said something back. I immediately interpreted as her being like attacking or controlling to me, and something in my whole body just said, wait, don't respond. There was like a force just hit me in the chest. And I didn't respond. Within 5 seconds to 10 seconds, I realized she was actually being supportive. And that's my amygdala trying to protect me from any potential threat, perceived or otherwise coming from her in that moment. And once again, it was wrong. And I thought to myself, oh my God, how many times a week must I be overreacting and misinterpreting where she's coming from? And so in this type of language that we're going to walk you through in a second, that's going to eliminate a lot of these things. It's going to eliminate projection, which we all do ad nauseum. We're constantly projecting on each other. And then we just have these automatic defensive responses. They're in what's called procedural memory. So every day I get up, I don't have to learn how to drive a car. I don't have to learn how to type. I just know it. It's in my procedural memory. Unfortunately, for a lot of our relational defenses, they're just automatic. I just start to criticize. I just start to shut down. I just start to disassociate. And it happens before I can even realize what happened. It's reflexive. So what we want to get you doing is being reflective. And so the first thing we want to do is like really slow down. And so in vulnerability, like I said, we get oxytocin release when we feel seen, heard, loved, safe, which creates the feeling of that. It's what they call the love hormone or the bonding hormone. So as that, the amygdala will trigger, if it assesses friend and safety, it'll trigger oxytocin release in the body that gives us the feeling of feeling loved, safe, and connected. Or if it says in that moment, maybe not all the time or globally, foe or unsafe with you, it's going to trigger adrenaline or cortisol and shoot me into a fight, flight, or freeze response. And then this derails the whole discussion. No vulnerability can happen because all our defenses and protectors are out. And now this is what drives these cycles we all get stuck in as couples. So what we want to do to prevent that is slow down, and then what's going to happen is if we can start to make headway in this area, we'll get the oxytocin release. We'll also get our vagal nerve, which is the longest nerve in the body that's connected to what we call secure attachment pathways or dissociative defensive pathways. We want it to go ventral vagal, which then is going to shut down my fight, flight, or freeze responses, release oxytocin, endorphins, which is our body's natural opiates, as a sense of feeling safe, well-being, these kind of feelings. And I want my brain to start to associate you with those as my partner. So then by slowing it down, talking about what's happening in a moment, and then here's the 3 steps I want to give you. And I'll walk you through this slowly. It's going to take time. You don't need to do it perfectly. You just need to get in a ballpark somewhere. You can make 100 mistakes until you get proficient at this. But once you do, everything is so unbelievably easy. You just got to do a little bit of work. So just like I don't have to think about how to drive today, or I don't have to think about how to type today, you won't have to think about how to communicate like this. It will just become procedural, automatic, and just a way of being. And it will transform every relationship you have. If you're in sales or computer engineering, whatever it is, your partner, your children, your friends, it's the most powerful type of communication that exists. Even if people don't know anything about it, they will be affected by you doing it. So the first thing is to use present-centered language. So that's, I'm seeing, I'm feeling, I'm noticing, I'm recalling, I'm talking, using present tense. So we want to, as soon as things start going bad, we want to get out of the moment. We want to bring out the filing cabinet. Back in 1972, you were late to pick me up at the Tasty Freeze or whatever it was, so then all these things just start flooding everybody and all of our defenses come out. So using present-centered language keeps us contained in the moment. Then we want to come from an I perspective. This does not mean I have to rigidly use I statements, but I want to talk about what I'm experiencing in the moment, what I'm perceiving, and let my partner be a completely autonomous, differentiated person than me. And so I may say something positive, but I'm not allowing them to be their own person. So if I say something like, we should start working on finding a better work-life balance, I'm dictating to them, even though it maybe is a positive thing I'm bringing up, and I'm not letting them be their own person. If I instead said something like, I would really like to sit down with you and start working on trying to find a better work-life balance, would you be open to that? So that may sound semantic to some of you, but it's very different. Most of my clients, if I use example 1, example 2, will invariably tell me, this one feels so much better to my body. This one feels a little, I don't like it, or it creates a little tension in my body because it's not letting me be an individual. And then the third and one of the most impactful pieces is to focus on what I am feeling in my body and verbalize that. I'll give you some examples to put these concepts into. So I had a couple this year where the guy expressed something vulnerable in the session. The wife looked completely frozen with her eyes darting back and forth. And I said, what's happening for you right now? And she says, I can't take it in because I can't trust it, but then I don't want to trigger him and make him feel rejected. So I said, okay, I get that. It makes sense to me. Would you be open to me giving you a framework or a way to communicate what you're experiencing that doesn't leave you in this binary position of receive or don't receive. Because another thing I've learned over the years working with thousands of people is the brain tends to see things in very binary ways, which eliminates a lot of options for us and makes our communication very limited. So what I said was, and I said, edit this, make it yours, but here's my first pass at it. When you say that right now, it's very meaningful to me. I appreciate it. My whole upper body is a bit tense, and part of me can't receive it because I don't trust it yet, but I feel almost guilty in saying that because I don't want you to feel rejected. And so what that was just a narration of her present experience. She didn't need to solve the problem, fix the problem, analyze it. She's just telling what is happening in this moment for her. So I said, does that resonate with you? Does that fit your experience? He said, yes. I said, can you turn and share that with him right now? She does. He says, I appreciate you acknowledging that. I don't expect you to be able to receive it at this point. We've been in this cycle for 10 years. I don't expect one disclosure to erase your defenses. And I said, how does that feel for you? And she says, that feels good. I have options. She's like, I feel excited to have options. And so it's that type of communication. My wife and I got in a discussion recently around finances, which is a big triggering conversation for us that brings up a lot of history from our histories, from our childhoods that we work on constantly. And it just didn't go very well. So we kind of went off the rails a bit. And then the next day, I didn't want a replication of that for either one of us because we like feeling close, love and connected and safe. I asked her, I said, I have some thoughts, again, coming from the I perspective, I have some thoughts about something that I believe would benefit us in the way we structure this topic that I think could make a successful outcome for us. Would you be open to hearing them? She said yes. So then I'm talking exclusively for myself. I'm not telling her, I think we should do this, I think we should do that. I'm respecting her autonomy as an individual. So we then sat down and started to talk. And this is, again, her using exactly this kind of communication, why it was so different for me. So as I started to explain something, she stopped and said, I feel like I just got hit in the chest with a rock and my whole upper body gets so heavy right now. I was a little confused, but I didn't get triggered because she just talked about her experience. And I said, what was it about what I said that triggered that? And then she did a very important thing. She said, what I heard you say or how I received it, instead of just saying that, well, you said this and you said that, which is not coming from the I perspective. She's saying what I heard was blah, blah, blah. So the first thoughts in my head were, none of that did I say. But we stayed out of this factual debate that couples get into, that they feel like if they could just get the other one to consent or agree with the facts, that would get us out of the conflict. So she just said what she heard. And I said, okay, none of that's what I was trying to communicate. So I didn't say I didn't say that, or I said this. I said, none of that is what I'm trying to communicate. So both of our responses kept us out of the facts. The facts are the biggest swamp in couples relationships. Do not debate facts or you might as well just shoot each other. It is gonna just bring you more and more pain. So then I said, would you be open to me clarifying what I was trying to communicate? She said, sure. Then I said very slowly what I'm trying to express. And then I asked her, how does your body respond to what I said? She goes, it's getting lighter. And like in sessions, I would ask the person to just notice my body lightening, just stay with that for a moment and see what happens. Maybe it brings up positive thoughts or imagery. Maybe it goes somewhere else painful. I don't know where it's gonna go, but we want the experience of it. So one of the reasons the body is so imperative and important in this kind of work and this kind of communication, because it's the only way we can rewire and create the neuroplasticity. Otherwise, you're just having a conversation. So there's a part of the brain called the nucleus basalis that is on nonstop when we're an infant and a child. And what it does is when we notice things and bring our attention to stuff, it secretes a neurotransmitter, or triggers a secretion of a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is super important for neuroplasticity. So what it does is it marks networks for change. And then when you're sleeping, a lot of those get rewired for the changes. So I'm a musician. When I was learning how to play guitar in my late teens, I would stay up for hours learning leads and scales and all these things, and I would be close, but I just couldn't quite get it. And I finally gave up and go to bed. Then I would get up the next day and I could just play it. Because the whole time I'm struggling, my brain is secreting norepinephrine to get me focused, and then acetylcholine on what I'm focusing on. So then it rewires it while I'm sleeping. Now I have this ability that I didn't go to bed with. And so that's another reason, if you're struggling to do this, just stay with it, because your brain will start to work for you to rewire things in this way. Harnessing these neurochemicals and these processes, so you are not just having a conversation, but real transformation, that you're creating a different biological you. So when we do good things or experiencing good things, it's important to get the felt sense, because for us as adults, that part of the brain, the nucleus bassalis, doesn't secrete the acetylcholine all the time anymore. It only does it when we really bring focused attention to something. So to get that neuroplasticity, we need a felt sense, focused attention on experience. What's that actually like? So if somebody says something affirmative, I'm like, what does that feel like? What happens when the person says that, or I say that? What does your body do with it? And that's why it's so important. And then it's so much less likely to get triggered or defensive. Like if I say, when you say that, this is what I hear, I'm not saying that's what you're saying, and I start to get sad and discouraged and I want to shut down, which is very different than shutting down and just pulling away from the conversation. So I hope some of that's making sense to you so far. So just review, present tense, what's happening in the moment, using present tense language. So even if I'm remembering something, I don't leave the moment and go back in the past and talk about this past thing. I say, as we're talking, I'm seeing a memory of us 2 years ago, or me at 8, and I'm feeling excited or sad. There's heaviness here, or for excitement, I might get it through here. And I'm just sharing what is happening to me. And this isn't, again, for me, this is such a way to scale things. Not only is it 10 times more impactful, effective, creates neuroplasticity, but I can scale that to that's something I could do. I could tell you I have an itch on the back of my head and I keep thinking about what we're gonna have for lunch, but I'm trying to pay attention and I have a fear come up that you're gonna feel invalidated if I'm not present. And that I can do, right? And instead of the other person just looking at me like, is he or she paying attention? They seem preoccupied. I'm starting to feel rejected or unimportant, where they don't realize you're actually trying very hard to fight off like your hunger or whatever it is preoccupying you, so I can pay attention. That doesn't feel as negative for most people as just standing there not saying it. So always make your inside voice your outside voice. Start to use these things, present, tense, talk about what's happening in the body or in your experience. I'm seeing, noticing, feeling. A longing comes up for me right now. A desire comes up for me right now for us to be closer. Or when you say that, I feel a lot of warmth in my chest and I feel very loved right now. It's these kind of things that are going to transform your relationship. And it just takes a little bit of work to just get them into procedural memory, and then they will just become a way of being. All these things with my clients, with my wife and I, we have taken some of these things that used to be big conflict triggers for us. Using this kind of language, they have become huge times of connection, where we've both learned a lot about ourselves, about each other, and then had really positive neurochemical reactions in our body that make us feel good talking about these difficult things, which for, at one point in our relationship would have felt like impossible, So we came with all of our histories and all our stuff and all our defenses and stressors and all those things. So I want you to believe this is possible for you. You can do it. We just break it down in these simple steps. This will completely transform your connections. At the end of the day, we want to create this one powerful thing called memory reconsolidation, in addition to the neuroplasticity, which is neuroplasticity is part of memory reconsolidation. And that is to have a different experience than what wounded us. And this is why it's so challenging, because to heal the past, we have to activate the past. So let's say if I have felt unheard, unacknowledged, invalidated, unimportant, and my partner says something unintentionally that triggers that feeling in my body, and then I just reflexively shut down or get critical or attack, that's the old pattern. So I have to actually activate this, be able to communicate what is happening for me from an I perspective without judging or attacking my partner or projecting, and have a different experience in that moment from what wounded me. Then I have to be able to receive that and take it in at a felt level. So let's say if I always felt I always got judged for sharing this part of me. Maybe it was, a sad part of me, an excited part of me, and my parents would shut that down or shame me for it, or somebody in a previous relationship. Now I go to share this, and my whole system is going to be ready for that. Even if the other person is amazingly loving, safe, caring, the body is remembering the old thing. And then when my partner responds in this different way, it shocks my system. It's called prediction error in neuroscience. Now, if I, with a couple I'm working with, if I say, what's it like to hear that right now? Maybe they can't take it in, like my other example with the other couple. Maybe they can, and then we want to focus on, if they say, that feels nice, it makes me feel cared for or important. And I say, what does it actually feel like? How do you experience the important feeling in your body? Because we want to get to that neuroplasticity, we want to get the acetylcholine. What does it actually feel like? Plus, I want to feel good. I don't want to just think good. Like, I want the good feeling that comes with it. It's like getting decaffeinated coffee. Like, I want the jolt. Don't just give me the coffee. Like, I want the caffeine too. So I want to get that feeling. And so that's how you can take your communication to a whole other level. And then the person, you're not just stuck there. Just make your inside voice your outside voice and say, I really want to share this thing with you right now, but I'm afraid, I get tight in my chest, and I'm just so worried I'm going to get invalidated and then feel twice as hurt. I'm not saying you're going to do that. I'm just saying what comes up for me in this moment. And because the other person isn't getting attacked, accused, predicted that they're going to do this, they're more likely to come back and say, okay, I can understand that, or what would make you feel safer? I do really want to hear what you have to say. And then check in. What happens to you when I say that? I can feel the anxiety coming down, or it's exactly the same. Okay, what could maybe make that feel better? So just stay with it, be curious, explore, experiment, make your inside voice your outside voice, so then all this stuff can get out in the open, and then there's no pressure. You're just narrating what's happening. I'm like, I'm standing here in front of the picture of the ocean, doing a video right now, and my face feels a little hot. That's it. That's all you have to do to create more vulnerable conversations that can really transform and start to rewire your nervous system. So I hope this video is beneficial to you. If you believed it was, please share it with anyone you think could find value from it. Once again, any additional information you'd like on this topic, you can contact my wife, Bissan, or I at hawkinscounselingcenter.com. We'd be happy to get you resources, speak with you, or sit down with you. Once again, that's hawkinscounselingcenter.com. And as always, we appreciate you making it this far, and I'll see you guys in the next video.